It's James Redlight. I'm going to speak about the Spike Lee film Black Klansman, and this is just an improvisation, spontaneous, my thoughts about it. I'm a Spike Lee fan. I've been a Spike Lee fan of his films since the 90s, and even his commercials with Penny Hardaway and all that stuff. And I thought the movie was interesting, Black Klansman. But, it was like a tribute blaxploitation film to Angela Davis, who's one of the primary female figures in the Black Panthers and in the Black civil rights movement of the 70s, the blaxploitation era. It was kind of a tribute to blaxploitation films of the 70s, which I've seen half those movies probably. Dolomite, The Mac, films like that, the one with Willie Dynamite. Superfly, you know what I'm saying? I thought it was a good film. It was a good tribute to blaxploitation films. But I think the film would have worked better as also a documentary. Because the end of the documentary footage, of the last 5 minutes when they were showing the Trump Make America Great Again and Black Lives Matters and all these clashes and all these protests and these rallies, whatnot. It was showing basically that things don't change, and if they do, the machines change, but the people don't. The radicalism doesn't change. The alpha males on both sides of the white power groups, the black power groups, the white power, the black power, the Nazis or the KKK and the Black Panthers stay the same. But what I'm saying is, what I think the movie didn't represent enough was that that's only 10% of people, or 5% of people. These fringe groups, these power groups, it's the CIA runs all of it, I believe. I can't confirm or deny that, but I believe so. That the government runs all these power groups, whether they're biker gangs, street gangs, whether they're hate groups, whether they're power groups. The CIA, which is the government, runs everything. As far as my understanding goes, I believe that to be true. I can't confirm or deny that, but I do believe that myself. So what I'm saying is, I think that the film showed that Africans have more racism, just as much racism as even the KKK. Because the guy was sitting there in the film, the guy who looked like Kanye, he kind of talked like Kanye. Nothing against Kanye, but he's from the South Side. I'm from Chicago too. But what I'm saying is the general area. He was just as racist as the KKK, but no one addressed that in the movie. So the black people, Africans in the movie, were just as racist as the KKK and just as racist as Trump, because they were saying F white America, and they just meant F the KKK and F the power structure that abuses its power or that goes after people, and does violent things to people. And what I'm telling people is they have to make that definite distinction between the KKK, which is a fringe minority group of Southern, racist people who are driven, they think, by God, but they are. But what I'm saying is they're driven by an ideology that most people don't believe in, which is a separatist superiority, power group kind of ideology. That Europeans like myself, who are European American, whose parents came from Germany or Europe, 100 years ago or longer, they don't believe in that there. And if they do, they're from Germany. If they're Nazis or something, they just believe in the proliferation of socialist German values, which are tradition, which is usually trying to make everything equal and just a non-Zionistic approach, which is non-Hebrew, non-Jewish. So what I'm saying is, I think that people, when they watch Black Klansman, they have to understand that prejudice is prejudice, regardless of who has it. They say prejudice is learned. Some of it is inherent. But what I'm saying is people have prejudice against things that aren't even human beings. They have prejudice against, animals, against food they don't like. They have prejudice against feeling sick, against being poor, against bad life situations. People don't just hate each other, is what I'm saying. And what I'm saying is Europeans who are European American, if they're relatively normal, intelligent people who are educated, have no ties to any power group, even if they're Republicans. That doesn't mean they hate people. That means they pay taxes to help Africans, pay for scholarships, pay for affirmative action laws, pay for Section 8, even if Trump got rid of it or whatever, or put it on hold in certain circumstances. What I'm saying is Europeans have gone out of their way to help Africans. Africans refer to Africa as the motherland, but the motherland sold them to the Portuguese as slaves, or as day laborers to the Portuguese, and then the Portuguese sold them to the southern landowners in America, essentially what happened. And maybe to Europe, I don't know, I'm not sure. The history, I'm not a history major, you would have to talk to them about that. But what I'm saying is, everyone seems to love Africa so much, and they say that that's the motherland, but it's only the motherland to Africans. The Europeans didn't come from Africa because they would look African. Okay? They would have afros, they would be wearing dashikis, they would be speaking African languages. The Chinese would be doing that also, they don't. So the Indians would be speaking African languages, they don't. Even though they have darker skin, they speak Indian and Hindi and all the other languages there. They have so many languages, so many different belief systems. I like India. What I'm saying is I like Africa. But what I'm saying is I think Africans are more racist than the KKK and Trump in some ways. Because even in the movie Black Klansman, the Africans are a 15% minority in a country that is 85% not African. Okay, or maybe 80% not African. So a bunch of Africans who are prejudiced saying black power is just as racist as the KKK saying white power. But even in the film Black Klansman, you had David Duke, who was part of the government or whatever. I don't support the KKK or anything like that, but I don't oppose them either, because it has nothing to do with me. So what I'm saying like that, just like I don't oppose Nazis, it has nothing to do with me. If I choose not to believe in a power group or that ideology, I don't have to oppose it. Do you understand? But this is what I'm saying is black power, it's okay, that's what they think. It's okay to say black power, and I'm saying, okay, it's good to be proud about your Afrocentric history. Nothing wrong with that. It's good to be black is beautiful, that's good. Okay, so people have changed their mindset about that, and I'm telling Africans to stop bleaching their skin. Because Europeans don't walk around going, geez, oh, that black person, that should have lots of skin. It's British people or something. They definitely shouldn't. Definitely shouldn't. No one should bleach their skin, ever. Doesn't matter who they are. They have to accept themselves the way they are. Doesn't matter if they're European, doesn't matter if they're African, doesn't matter if they're Chinese, doesn't matter if they're Indian, doesn't matter if they're women, doesn't matter if they're men, doesn't matter if they're gay. They have to accept themselves as they are. They don't have to join power groups that are controlled by the government to end up as negated radicals. It's not going to work. So what I'm saying is that every time they see a white person, they shouldn't think that they're part of the KKK or Trump's administration, or that they're part of some white Zionistic Nazi party, which is a contradiction of terms anyhow, but that's what I'm saying. Because they have to remember that a good percentage of white people are European, some of them are Russian, some of them are European. I'm European American, which I have 4 different European ethnicities in me: Polish, German, Czechoslovakian, and Irish. Even though Irish isn't part of Europe, it's a small island. But what I'm saying is the Scottish and the Irish are similar, but the Irish are the Irish. But what I'm saying is I still have 3 different European ethnicities, but I was born in America, so were my parents, and we came here 100 years ago. So that's what I'm saying. So we're European Americans, we're not white people. So people use crayon colors and they say you're white, or that person's black, or that person's brown, he's Mexican, or Latin, or that person is Chinese, they're yellow. All this ignorance. Instead of people just remembering universally they're all human beings and it's the same, your soul is clear, it's the love law. So that's what I'm saying. People don't understand that, So I think when they watch a movie like Black Klansman, and what I'm saying is Spike Lee fans are of every ethnicity and nationality, and age and demographics. So, I watch most of Spike's movies. If it's an interesting topic, I'll watch it. But what I'm saying and asking people is to get rid of their own prejudice against European Americans, because they think it's okay to say black power and we hate Trump and white people, and I'm saying that's not okay. Because people don't have to change the government, they don't have to change the person next to them, they have to change and transform themselves and their own beliefs. You know, because if they don't, they'll be trapped and negated in some power group or some black power ideology that's never going to help them unless it does. So it's smarter to practice yoga and Buddhism, is what I'm saying, and practice inner transformation instead of outer conflict and outer protest. Like in the film, you saw how two divergent groups and polarized groups of white power, KKK, and Black Panthers, or just, Make America Great Again and Black Lives Matter clashing at protest rallies. And none of that has to do with unity, and none of it has to do with, helping each other, and that's what people are here for. So what I'm saying is, since the 60s, there's been a lot of liberal mentality and liberal idealism, which has been a failure. Okay? You had hippies who were Europeans who just wanted to go against their traditional parents' values. And they wanted to party and just cause a revolution and just be hippies and open air festivals and listen to music and Woodstock and all that stuff. And it's cool. I like Woodstock, great film, good acts, all that stuff. The revolution, I understood it. They didn't want to be their parents, just get drunk and go to war and, eat steak and all that kind of stuff and just vote for the same people. But what I'm saying is, everything has to be in moderation, and you have to have balance in whatever you do. In the revolutions, all these people had to end up joining the corporate communities anyhow in the structure of the society, because otherwise they would have been negated, or they all would have been living on communes, But even in communes, you still have to have the same rules. So that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, even if you join a black power group or a white power group, you'll be negated by the group. Your individuality will be taken by the group, isn't it? And then they'll be negated as human beings. So what I'm saying is, there's more power in inner transformation than there is in joining a power group, regardless of which group you join or which political party you join, because people think, and this is another issue, is people think that if they vote, they're going to change everything. If all of it, because this is another African fallacy, is if we all vote, it's all going to change. And I'm saying, you voted Obama into office, but he caused worse problems than Bush and Clinton and Trump combined, basically. Besides not starting 2 wars, that Bush started. This is what I'm saying. Financially, he caused 3 times the amount of debt as Bush, and he did, sent way more refugees and immigrants out of the country than Trump has, I believe. You would have to talk to CNN to verify those numbers, because I'm just telling you what the generalities are. They know the specifics because they're the number crunchers. But what I'm saying is, if this is a society of just a Greek, Roman, Jewish, Hebrew, Euro melting pot society with all these different cultures and ethnicities, the generality is simple unity among people and assimilation into each other's cultures, so they can keep their cultural traditions and values. But what I'm saying is, everyone has to unite as Salemullah, in the middle, in moderation and convention and practice, because that's what works. That's the only conventional tradition that will work, is unity and moderation in the middle. It's not liberalism, it's not radicalism, and it's not ultra-conservatism. That's stubborn. You can't have that. You'll have progress 25% of the time and change 25% of the time. New machines brought to us by Chinese and Japanese and the Germans, but you know what I'm saying? It's people need to transform themselves on the inside instead of trying to go to war or to protest on the outside of themselves, because they never dealt with what's on the inside of themselves. With all their hatred or their prejudice or their frustration or their brainwashing, the propaganda that they've read, whether it's Black Panther, Black Power, or White Power, or, or Republican, or spiritual values, religion, Christianity, Islam, anything, Judaism, whatever. People need a correct life practice that works. And what I'm telling them is they have to know the rules before they try to break them, instead of people just trying to be rebels and try to cause a revolution. And I'm saying the revolution is inner transformation in yourself. Because if you can't control the government, you can't control a power group, you can't control how the earth spins or who controls it. And if everyone is only visiting on the earth for 80 to 100 years, most people don't even live that long, then you're not going to own or take anything with you, isn't it? It's all going to stay here. So that's what I'm saying, is it's not worth shedding blood, it's not worth arguing, and it's not worth dividing yourselves over things that will stay here for 80 to 100 years. Even in generations, your children will never take what they've worked for or what they've accomplished here. It will stay here on this earth. It has to. God will not allow you to take your soul and take it with you. Even if the Egyptians used to bury their gold with them in their sarcophagus, it's not going to be taken with them. So what I'm saying is people shouldn't pursue these materialistic ways and division groups and things of that nature, because it goes against the tradition of unity and survival and assimilation into each other's culture to be combined into a surviving humanity. That's what people need, you know. So I just figured I'd talk on it, you know, because I like Spike and I like his movies and I like Africans. And what I'm saying is most Europeans do. Nobody likes the people who are radicals and the people who kill people and the people, all this shit that like that, stuff like that, that happens. But, you know, God willed all this stuff, so whatever happens, God willed. So people go like this: we God first, and then we'll blame white people second. And I'm saying stop doing that. Because they do the same things that every European has done. They do the same things that every Chinese person has done. They've done everything the same that human beings done. Not every person, but what I'm saying in general. So what I'm saying is everybody has prejudice to a certain degree. If it is learned, it's inherent, genetic, whatever. Everyone has some hatred. They hate being sick. They hate being broke. They hate when people yell at them. They hate being powerless. They hate being in jail. They hate disasters, natural disasters. You know, whatever's negative, people hate it. That's what I'm saying. They like animals. They like dogs and cats, but they don't like armadillos. Excuse me. I say armadillos as a joke. But armadillos or spiders, you know, they don't like killer sharks, but they like, you know, fish. They like dolphins. So that's what I'm saying. People have prejudice against food. They don't like parsley, but they like broccoli. That's true. Yeah. They might not like black licorice, but they like red licorice. It has nothing to do with ethnicity. And if all these things happen in Earth out of necessity, that's why all this happened. The Africans sold their people to the Portuguese out of necessity. It wasn't because they hated them. It was because they needed laborers to work the farms to get tobacco and cotton. It's that simple. So all of this was done out of necessity. It wasn't done out of racism against Africans. So I think Africans need to change their mentality of being slaves in this 440 years of oppression. I'm telling them they have to transform their minds and themselves from the inside instead of acting out on the outside. Because you can have riots, just like the Rodney King riots, or you can have all this stuff with rage and people try to set their towns on fire, their cities on fire. It's never going to solve the problems of being angry Africans who can't accept the way things are. Or angry human beings in general. It doesn't matter if they're African or not, that's what I'm saying. But people have to deal with their own anger and their own prejudice, so that regardless of what happens in their lifetime, they're okay. They don't have to set something on fire, they don't have to cause a riot, they don't have to burn something down to the ground. They don't have to overreact, because it's not going to help them. It's not ever going to get rid of their anger, it's not going to solve anything, and it's not going to change anything. It's like that. This world wasn't created just for Africans. This world wasn't just created for Europeans. This world wasn't just created for this group or that group. It was God's creation, and we're all just visiting. We're only going to be here 80 to 100 years, and then we disappear, isn't it? Unless we come back. That's what I'm saying. So, I just wanted to say that, and thank you for watching the video. I like Spike movies, and I support Spike Lee. I'm glad he won an Oscar. I think he should do a whole documentary about the Black Klansman. I thought the actors were good, but I'm saying all these people are stereotypes, some of them, but not all people are like that. So I'm just saying the Black Klansman film, I still think the message should have been that everyone should get rid of their prejudice, not that black people should say F white America, because that's the same prejudice that the KKK have toward them, but it's worse, is what I'm saying to Africans and black people, is don't hate white people, because it's the hatred you need to get rid of, not white people. Because Oprah and Michelle and Obama aren't going to change a system into all African businesses and into all African rule. It's not going to happen. And if it did, didn't you see what happened in Africa with Rwanda? A genocide would happen, they'd go against each other, and people would start cutting each other's heads off with machetes over being greedy. Then they would say, okay, I want more money, I want more mansions, I want more power, and then they would kill each other. It wouldn't work. So that's what I'm saying. So, you know, I think people need to understand that and recognize